Benny Bear, Ruby Rabbit, Mission to the Moon. Benny Bear and Ruby Rabbit were the best of friends. Benny, a big brown bear with a heart full of adventure, loved exploring. Ruby, a clever little rabbit with a knack for building things, loved inventing. One day, as they lay on a grassy hill watching the stars, Benny sighed, "I wish we could go to the moon." Ruby's eyes lit up. "Why not? Let's build a rocket." For weeks they gathered supplies. Benny found a big metal barrel, and Ruby attached wings and a control panel made from buttons and dials she found in the junkyard. They named their spaceship the Star Jumper. On the day of the launch, they put on helmets. Benny's was an old fishbowl, and Ruby's was a teacup with a glass lid. Benny counted down. 3, 2, 1, blast off. With a loud whoosh, the Star Jumper zoomed into the sky. They passed fluffy clouds soaring higher and higher until they reached the dark, starry space. "Look, the moon!" Ruby pointed excitedly. It was huge and glowing. They landed with a soft puff on the dusty surface. Benny bounced around. "Whoa, I feel so light." Ruby giggled. "That's because of low gravity." They explored moon craters, collected shiny space rocks, and even found a strange trail of footprints. "Do you think there's someone else here?" Benny whispered. Just then, a tiny green alien peeked out from behind a rock. "Hello," it squeaked. Benny and Ruby gasped. "Who are you?" "I'm Zogo. Welcome to the moon," the alien said, smiling. "Want some moonberries?" Zogo led them to a glowing tree covered in twinkling berries. They tasted sweet and fizzy like tiny fireworks in their mouths. After playing moon hopscotch and sharing stories, it was time to go. "Come visit again." Zogo waved as the Star Jumper blasted back toward Earth. As they landed in their backyard, Benny stretched. "That was the best adventure ever." Ruby grinned. "Next time, Mars." Benny laughed. "Let's build a bigger rocket." And so the best friends dreamed of their next grand adventure, knowing the universe was theirs to explore. Ruby Rabbit were bursting with excitement. Today was the day of their big trip to the zoo. They packed their favourite snacks. Benny brought honey sandwiches, and Ruby packed crunchy carrot sticks. With their backpacks ready, they set off on their adventure. When they arrived, the zoo was full of cheerful families and curious animals. The first stop was the giraffe enclosure. "Wow, they're so tall," Benny marvelled. Ruby giggled as one of the giraffes bent its long neck to nibble some leaves right in front of them. Next, they visited the monkey habitat. The monkeys swung from vine to vine, chattering happily. "I bet I can jump like that," Ruby said, hopping up and down. Benny tried to swing on a low branch but landed on his fluffy bottom. "Maybe I'll leave the swinging to the monkeys," he chuckled. At the elephant area, they watched a giant elephant spray water with its trunk. "That looks fun," Benny said. Just then, a little elephant sprayed water their way, and they both squealed with laughter. After exploring more animals like lions, zebras, and flamingos, it was time for lunch. They found a shady picnic spot and enjoyed their snacks while watching colourful parrots in the trees. Before they left, they stopped by the petting zoo. Ruby gently stroked a soft lamb, and Benny laughed as a friendly goat tried to nibble his backpack. "Hey, that's my lunch, not yours," Benny said playfully. As the sun began to set, Benny and Ruby walked toward the exit. "That was the best day ever," Ruby said. "Let's come back soon," Benny agreed. With hearts full of joy and minds full of memories, they hopped onto the bus and headed home, dreaming about their next big adventure. Benny Bear and Ruby Rabbit's bike ride. One sunny morning, Benny Bear polished his bright red bicycle while Ruby Rabbit adjusted her blue helmet. "Today's the perfect day for an adventure," Benny said with excitement. "Let's ride to Blueberry Hill," Ruby suggested. "I hear the berries are extra sweet this time of year." The two friends hopped on their bikes and pedaled down the winding forest trail. The air was fresh and the scent of pine trees filled their noses. Birds chirped happily and a squirrel waved from a tree branch. As they rode along, Ruby sped ahead, her long ears flapping in the wind. "Come on, Benny, let's go faster." Benny chuckled and picked up speed, but his big bare paws made pedaling a little slower. "I'm coming," he huffed, laughing. Suddenly the path became bumpy. "Whoa!" Ruby cried as she swerved to avoid a rock. Benny's bike wobbled and he nearly tipped over. "Careful," he called. Just then they reached a small wooden bridge. "Let's stop for a drink," Benny suggested, pulling out a water bottle. The friends rested, listening to the gentle stream below. After their break, they continued up the hill. The path got steeper and Benny puffed as he pedalled harder. "Almost there," Ruby cheered. Finally, they reached the top and before them lay a field of juicy blueberries. "We made it," Benny cheered. The two friends picked and munched on the sweet berries, their fingers turning blue. "This was the best bike ride ever," Ruby said happily. As the sun began to set, Benny and Ruby hopped back on their bikes, riding home with full bellies and big smiles, already planning their next adventure. Benny Bear and Ruby Rabbit, the Great Race. Benny Bear and Ruby Rabbit were the best of friends, but they loved a good competition. One sunny morning, Ruby bounced up to Benny and said, "Let's have a race to the big oak tree on the hill." Benny chuckled. "You're fast, Ruby, but I'm strong. This will be interesting." The animals of the forest gathered to watch. Squirrels, deer, and even the wise old owl perched in a tree ready to cheer them on. "On your marks, get set, go," shouted Freddie Fox. Ruby shot forward like a bolt of lightning, her long ears flapping in the wind. Benny, however, took big, powerful strides, thumping along the path with steady determination. Halfway through the race, Ruby looked back and giggled. "Too slow, Benny." She saw a patch of delicious carrots nearby and thought, "I have plenty of time for a snack." While Ruby munched, Benny kept going, his pace slow but steady. He climbed the hill without stopping. When Ruby finally finished her snack and looked up, she gasped. Benny was almost at the top. "Oh no!" she yelped and sprang into action, her feet pounding against the ground. She zipped past bushes and leaped over logs, but Benny was just a few steps from the finish line. With one last push, Benny reached the big oak tree first. The crowd cheered as Ruby hopped up beside him, panting. "You won, Benny," she laughed. "I thought I had all the time in the world." Benny grinned. "Slow and steady wins the race, Ruby." The friends laughed together, and Ruby promised to never underestimate Benny again. From that day on, they still raced, but now they always finished together, enjoying the fun of the run rather than the win. Benny Bear, Ruby Rabbit, go to the park. One bright and sunny morning, Benny Bear and Ruby Rabbit decided to go to the park. Benny packed a big picnic basket filled with honey sandwiches, berries, and apple juice, while Ruby brought along her favourite red kite. As they arrived at the park, Benny spread out a checkered blanket under a shady oak tree. "Let's eat first," he said, rubbing his belly, but Ruby was too excited. "Not yet, Benny, the wind is just right for flying my kite." Benny chuckled and watched as Ruby ran across the grassy field, her kite soaring high in the sky. "Look, Benny! It's dancing with the clouds," she giggled. Benny clapped his big paws, enjoying the sight. After a while, Benny's tummy rumbled loudly. "Okay, now it's picnic time," he said. They sat down and munched on their delicious treats, laughing and telling funny stories. Just as they finished, Benny noticed a small duckling waddling nearby, looking lost. "Oh no, where's your family, little one?" Ruby asked gently. The duckling quacked softly, looking around. Benny and Ruby decided to help. They walked by the pond, calling out, "Mama Duck, where are you?" Soon they heard happy quacking. A mother duck and her other ducklings were swimming nearby. The little duckling ran to join them, and Mama Duck gave Benny and Ruby a grateful nod. "That was an adventure," Benny said. "And now, time for a nap under the tree." Ruby giggled and lay beside him, watching the clouds drift by. It was a perfect day at the park.